Alright, so now what we're going to do is actually test these batteries. So after you've made your little charging station here where it can hold 16 cells, and if you haven't seen how to make this, I'll leave the video, a link to that video in the description below. We're going to use the IMAX B6 Mini to do this. And when you use these B6 Minis, make sure, make sure they're authentic. Make sure they have that holographic sticker on the back of them. These are probably one of the best chargers that I know of. Just make sure that they have that holographic image on the bottom of them. That means they're genuine. These can go up to 6 amps, and they can go up to 6 cells in series. This is all in parallel, so it's always going to be 1S. Now let me bring this up here so we can see what settings we're going to put this on. So right now, when you turn it on, mine's on LiPo balance charge. Just hit this stop button here. And what we're going to do is we're going to put these batteries in here. And there's 12 batteries, right? And they're basically 2,000, let's see, 18,650. It don't say what they are. If it'll focus in on that, maybe. Yeah, it don't tell you what, but most likely they're between 1,500 and 2,000 milliamp hours. So just if you figure that out, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 24, 26. So 26 basically 26,000 milliamp hours basically is what it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to, remember, these were these batteries that we took out of the 4-year-old laptop battery pack. But what we need to do is go over here to hit that button one time. We're there, so we're just going to click to the right. Battery memory system settings is what we're looking for. So we're going to move over to the enter. I'm going to turn my safety timer off. I'm going to hit enter. It's going to blink. I'm going to turn it off because we don't know how long it'll take to charge these up 100%. But I'll hit enter. It'll let me set how many minutes I want, but I turned mine off, so no reason to worry about that. So we're going to hit stop, and then we're going to hit enter again, and then we're going to go capacity cutoff. Now they set it to 8,000 milliamp hours, which if these batteries were to hold 2,000 each, then that would only be 4 batteries which literally it would just shut off. So we're gonna change that to, what did we say, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, right? 24,000. So I'm gonna hit enter. I'm gonna leave this setting on. I'm gonna hit enter again. It'll bring me over here, and I'm just gonna set this at about 30,000. That way I'm pretty sure it's, I'll just put it at 35,000. That's 3,500. Hold on. Get back out of that. So I'm gonna put it at 30,000. That's 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, 13,000. Just gonna keep going until it gets to the. Okay, so I'll just put it at 30,600. Hit the enter button. Temp cutoff 50 degrees Celsius or 122 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll just leave that on. If it gets that hot, I do want it to shut off. And temperature unit, I have mine in Fahrenheit. You can change it. Rest time between charge and discharge is 10 minutes. Not worried about that. And then we have all these other functions, but I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm going to hit stop. We're back there. Now I'm going to hit to the right. And we want LiPo. Basically, they're lithium polymer batteries for the most part. Hit enter. And we're not going to balance charge, but we are going to charge. We are not in 2S, we are in 1S. We're at 3.7 nominal, so we're going to hit enter. I'm going to keep that at 6 amps because that's what I charge mine at. That's why it's already set at 6 amps. Yours is probably going to be at 1 amp. Just move it up to 6 amps. And then, 6 amps, enter. It'll come over here. I'm going to back it up 1 because I want 1S, so 3.7 volts nominal. I'm going to hit enter. And we're good. Now I'm not going to mess with that. When we're ready to, let's put these batteries in here. So we're going to put all the positives. Remember, the positive is the side that has that dimple on it. Right? There's the positive side. The negative side does not have a dimple. Okay. So I'm going to turn mine this way because this is my positive wire up here. As you can see, it's the red wire. That's how I wired mine. So I'm just going to start sticking these in there. Now, most likely, these batteries are dead. And if they are dead, then these smart chargers they won't recognize it. And so we're going to have to revive the battery. And then not just revive it, but bring it back to life and then rejuvenate it. Literally recondition the battery. So now we're just going to stick our positive on positive, negative on negative. That's good to go. I want to keep the cord away from it because I want to be able to come over here occasionally and touch it. So just real quickly again, you probably can't see it, but it is 6 amps and 3.7 volts 1S. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit enter. It's going to say, is this what you want? Battery check. Now look what it's doing. Let me show you. Connection error, check main port. Now the reason it's saying that is not because I got my batteries wrong, not because my connections are wrong. It's none of that. Let's get a voltmeter and let's see how dead is. Alright, can y'all see that on the camera? Looks like you can. We'll put that on DC. And we're going to check. Let me see if y'all can see the voltage there. .337. Let me turn that on. Yeah, you can see that. Okay, so 0.336, not even a volt. The next one, 0.335, 0.335, 0.336, 0.334, 0.022, 21, 19, 18, 17 is draining. 0.333, 0.333, 0.333, 0.333, and the final one, 0.333. So what that means is these are dead as dead can get. What we have to do then is we have to bring these back to life. These are absolutely dead. They've been dead for 4 years. So they've been sitting at 0.3 volts for 4 years. So I'm going to take this and we're going to bring these batteries back to life. We'll catch you on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to hook this up. We're going to set that right there where y'all can see it. I've got a power supply here, guys. If you need any of these things, I'll put links to everything. The IMAX B6 Mini, and B6 means it's 6. It can do up to 6 in series. Usually the number tells you how many it can do in series. But I'm going to hook this to this power supply. So I'm going to turn this power supply on, and I've got it set at 3.8 volts. You can see that there. And I'm going to turn the current all the way down, because these are very, very, very dead batteries. So now we can see that there's nothing going on there. So I'm going to put the positive on the positive. I'm going to put the negative on the negative. Okay, now I'm going to crank this up. I'm sorry, the amperage up. And I don't want to put that much amperage into the battery right now. So I'm going to put about an amp, about 1.6 amps, and 1.6 volts. Okay, I've got this set at 3.8 volts on this connection here. But we're going to leave it at 1.7 volts and 1 amp and let this charge these batteries up. Now what I'm looking for is hot batteries while it's doing that. So far they're all absolutely cold. So I'm going to go ahead and give it just a little more voltage. Now remember, this is 1.4 amps divided by 12 batteries. So, I mean, you know, it's barely any amperage at all going into these batteries. So I'm going to go ahead and crank that up to about 2 amps, 2.8 volts, and 2.9, 2.8, somewhere in there. And we're just going to let that sit, and I'll leave this recording. And I want you to watch what's going to happen. It's going to take this up. It's slowly coming up, 3.1 volts. This will slowly climb up to about 3.8 volts, or this will start to go down, and this will remain around 3.1. It just depends on the situation of these batteries. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come by and I'm going to check them every now and again as this process takes place, and just check to see if they're hot. Right now, every single one of these batteries is cool. So what I'm going to do, I'm just making sure they're all in there very good. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and crank that on up and get this to 3.8. So we get 3.8 volts, 2.82 amps coming in, and this number will begin to drop once the voltage gets to 3.8 volts in these cells. And so again, all I'm going to do is come by and check on them. Just put my hand over them and see if they're hot or not. If there's a cell that gets hot, guys, if you feel a cell that's getting hot, take that cell out and throw it off into your recycling box, because that cell you do not want in your power wall. You don't want it in your power pack. You don't want to use a hot cell, especially when we're only pulling 2.8 amps divided by 12 per cell. I mean, if you take 2.82 and divide it by the 12, that tells you exactly how many milliamp hours are going into each individual cell. So if you just keep an eye on this, we're at 3.9, 4.0. Well, we need to get that set. We don't want that going above. So we got it set at 3.7, 3.8 volts, and we'll watch this amperage here. And you'll see me coming by just checking the temperature on them. As long as they stay cool, we're good to go. If they get hot, we're in trouble, and we need to reject that battery, throw it into a recycling box. Okay, right now all that we are doing is trying to get these babies back to a 3.7, 3.8 voltage area, and that's all we want to do. And we are checking the cells for heat. Okay, a bad cell will get hot, and it'll get very hot to the touch. You need to pull that out. If it's warm to the touch, that's absolutely just fine. These are absolutely cold right now. So I'm going to leave it go. You're seeing what the amperage is doing there as it's going through the various cells. So just keep an eye on that, and you'll see me just coming in and touching them every now and again. I'm going to put it on fast forward and let it roll. Alright guys, so I had to pull one battery out. It got hot, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this voltage down. I'm going to put it at 2.6. I'm going to put this battery back on there. Let's see if it heats back up again. I'm watching this right here. Okay, so it's climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing, meaning this battery has an issue. And we see that it is on constant current now. Instead of constant voltage, it's over here on constant current. So I'm going to see if this battery gets hot again, and it probably will. If it does, that's exactly what we're looking for. That's the kind of battery we want to throw off into that recycling bin. But the simple fact that it had to climb up to 2.8 volts when I stuck that battery on tells me that that's a bad battery. Right now it's warm to the touch. All these are cold. Okay, so this is a bad battery, and I'm gonna leave it off. It's quite warm. It's still not hot enough that I can't touch it, but it is very warm. So we're just gonna leave it off, and that's the battery I believe that had like hardly any voltage. Let me go ahead and take this back up to 3.8. Actually, we'll just go to 3 volts. The smart charger should be able to read them once they get to about 2.8 volts, 2.6, 2.5, somewhere in there. So let's see what this battery has. See, this is that battery that was 0.00 or 0.03 or 0.01 or 0.0 whatever it was. That's this battery. So this battery is going in the recycling box to be recycled out. And so I'll be back, just check on these. They're all still pretty cool for the most part. But like I said, if they're warm to the touch, that's fine. We're putting 0.43 volts into it. This should begin to drop. When this gets down to around 0.1 or whatever, somewhere 0.5, whatever, then we'll take it off of here because we're at 3 volts. We should be at about, that means we'll be at about 2.8, 2.9 volts. So once we get to that stage, then at that point, the smart chargers should be able to read them. Again, what we are doing here is actually taking a deader than dead battery. These batteries have been dead, sitting at 0, you saw it for yourself, 0.33, 0.3 area for 4 years. Okay, but these are lithium ion batteries, and they can be recuperated, they can be rejuvenated, they can be reconditioned. And that's exactly what we're doing. And I'm trying to show you that even with an old battery that's been sitting for 4 years dead, we can still bring these back to life, and they will most likely still have around 1500 or more milliamp hours capability as far as capacity. So we're going to check that. So we're just waiting for this to come down to about 0.1, and then I'll be back. I will stop in, just check the temperatures on them, just to make sure. Again, we're looking for any of the batteries that are getting hot. If they're getting hot, those are going to the recycling bin. We don't want to use them for anything. We just want to recycle them back so they can make more lithium batteries. So we'll catch you guys in a little while. Alright guys, so what we're going to do is just real quickly while I'm here is just take a reading on each one of these while it's charging. So we're trying to get it to 3.0, which will be like 2.9 or 2.8 or something when this gets down to 0.1. So let's just take it and check what we have right now. 2.6. Yeah.
What are you doing, acrobat?
Timer went off on it. 2.608. 2.610. 2.610. 2.611. Missed that one. 2.612. 2.612. 2.612. 2.612. 2.615. So, and they're all pretty cool at this point. I mean, you're drawing 0.2 amps. I mean, coming across now 11 batteries. So we had one that got hot. And again, the whole point of bringing these back to life in this process before we put them onto the battery charger is we're checking for heat. If there's any of them that are getting very hot to the touch, I mean, like it's hot, you know what I mean? You're like, ooh, you need to pull that battery, period. Shut this off if you have to and let it cool down if it's too hot. But you want to come back by every 10 minutes or so and just check them. If you have a hot battery, the whole point of this, we're not just bringing them back to life. We are looking for the batteries that are absolutely no good and need to be recycled and turned into new lithium ion batteries. And you find that out by heat. With the amperes that we're pulling, there should be no heat. Like, it should barely even get warm. And if they get warm, that's fine. But if they get hot to the touch, you have a problem. And that battery needs to be discarded. Okay? Y'all hear me on that? Okay? You really need to, I'm serious about that. Okay, anyway, so we'll just let it continue on down. When it gets down around 0.1, I'll be back. I don't need to check them no more. I know they're good to go. So around 0.1, I'll be back and we'll check it, what the voltage is on them. And if they're high enough, we'll go ahead and put them onto the IMAX B6 and let them begin the process of charging all the way to 4.22 volts. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at what the voltage is. Everything's still cold. But let's see what the voltage is. It's about 12:15 in the morning here. So hopefully we're good, because I need to get these put on that charger before I go to bed tonight. Let's see where we're at. So we're on volts DC. Y'all can see it. 2.7, so we're not there yet. 2.7, 2.76, 2.76, 2.76, 2.76, 2.76, and you can see they're all staying the same. These batteries have been together in that battery pack, you know, from the start of them. So they're all pretty much balanced to one another. Plus, we're running it in parallel, so they're automatically, you know, distributing the current in between them until they balance out. So, because they're running in parallel. So we'll just let that go on down some more, and then I think at 2.8 it'll read it. I may be wrong, but I believe most smart battery chargers or battery dischargers, whatever, smart ones, I believe they only read them down to 2.8 or 2.7, something like that. So, you know, these coming in at 0.03 volts, the smart machines, they're not smart enough to know that they can be brought back to life. So they see them as dead and they shut them off. That's what the BMSs are designed to do in them. You know, it detects that the current's too low and it won't even attempt to charge them. These are lithium batteries. You know, they can go for 1,000, 2,000 cycles. Obviously, they've been brought down way below 2.5 volts, way below. So 0.03 volts, so not even 1 volt. According to everyone, these are damaged and no good, and they won't be able to hold their capacity. We don't know what the capacity of these are. I looked up the numbers. I can't find it online. Not sure exactly who made these or what the milliamp hours is, but it should be. We should be able to get you know, at least 1,200 milliamp hours out of these batteries. If we don't, then you know, we've wasted our time. But I know for a fact, because I've done this over and over and over again, that we'll get a minimum of 1,500 out of these. I don't know what the milliamp hours is. Maybe these are 1,500 milliamp batteries. If they are, then we'll probably get 1,400 out of it. If they are 2,000 milliamp hour batteries, then we'll probably get around 1,900 milliamp hours. Okay, they're not damaged the way people say that they're damaged, because they were brought down to below 2.5 volts. Okay, that's not how lithium ion batteries work. These should come back to life, and they should be able to hold almost the original capacity. Okay, so we're going to find out exactly what these are in milliamp hours when we get them charged up. But right now, all we're doing is just trying to get them to a voltage that the smart chargers can recognize, so that they don't tell us we have a voltage disconnect or some kind of weird message. We want the smart chargers to recognize these, and all we have to do to get them to recognize this is get them up there to 2.6, 2.7, 2.8 volts. I'm not exactly sure what it is. In fact, what are we at right now? 0.26, 2.6. Let's see. We might go ahead and just try it just to see if it can read them. So we're at 2.77. Yeah, let's take it over there, stick it on there, and see if it'll read it. It'd be great if it does, because that way I can go on to bed and let them charge. But again, the whole point and the reason, you know, we're not just bringing them back to life. We're looking for the hot batteries, guys. This is so important. If you have a hot battery, that battery can catch fire. It can explode. It can, you know, it's lithium ion batteries. So if the whole point is to get them up to whatever voltage we need, we're going to try 2.77. Get them up to voltage, but also we're checking for the hot ones, because the hot ones have a problem and they're malfunctioning. They're no good. They need to be recycled. You need to get them out, throw them away. Don't worry if the rest of them hold capacity or not. Get rid of that one battery or 2 or 10 or however many it is. Usually on these dead packs that I've got, you know, usually about every 36, so about every third battery pack, I find just one that is no good, and that was the case here. So we're down to 11 batteries. Let's take it over there and let's see if we can, if it'll recognize it right now. So I'm just going to kill this 3 volts. That's what we're trying to get it to, and it's pushing in 0.16 amps. But let's take them over there and hook them up. Okay, so I'm just going to show you that I'm going to click out of that, because that's where it was when we had that message. Because the batteries were too low, they were completely dead, utterly dead, 0.03 volts. So we're setting it at 6 amps, 3.7 volt nominal voltage, 1 in series. So that's what we're going for. We're going to hook it up. And 6 volts across 11 batteries, 6 divided by 11, what is that? Like 500 milliamp hours, something like that. I mean, that's what it's going to be if we do 6 amps, and that's what I'm going to do here. 6 amps. Okay, 3.7 volts, 1 in series. We're going to check it. It found the battery. Okay, now let me just put this back down for a minute. Get the meter over here. Make sure this is our 2.7 volt battery. All right, so with red to red. Okay, so 2.742 volts. So we're gonna bring this up here. That's what I'm gonna charge it at. And I'm just gonna hold this down, it's gonna check. It's finding the battery at 2.74 volts. So we have now got the battery back to where the smart chargers can detect whether or not it's charging a battery. Alright, so let me just stick that back on there one more time so we... .7 volts. So they've actually discharged a little bit. But again, here we are. It's recognizing it, so I'm just going to hit start. So we're charging LiPo batteries, one in the series, right? There's only 1 in series. There's 11 in parallel. Charging, we're sending in 6 amps and we're at 3.17 volts that is pushing. Right there, 3.19 is climbing. It's going to climb up to 4.2. And then charging for that long, and we have 53, 54 milliamp hours in the battery. So let's just set that down there. Check the batteries, make sure they're not getting hot. So the batteries are sitting at 3.1 volts, and this thing's saying 3.29 right now. Just show you that real quick. Make sure you see that. And turn that light on. So 3.3, 3.13 in the battery. Pushing 3.31 volts into the battery at 6 amps. And the batteries are receiving 3.14 volts. Now I don't have the amp meter hooked up, so we're not going to check that, but we're just going to let that charge up. We'll check the batteries once or twice here before killing the lights and calling it a night. Alright guys, so this is what we're at right now. Pushing 6 amps, 3.9 volts. I've been charging for 48 minutes and we've got about 4,820 milliamp hours in this battery. You know, the whole battery pack. The whole group of cells. So that's where it's at. The battery's gonna die on here before long, and I've got to get out of here and get over and get some sleep. So I'm gonna kill it here. When this is done, it'll let us know all the information if we have the settings right, and I believe we set it right. We way over set it, I'm sure. I mean, most likely these are gonna have less than 2,000 milliamp hours, but on average I'm getting between 1,900 and about 2,400. So it's been varying, but all we want to do this round is to get it fully charged, and whatever it is. I'll show you on that when tomorrow comes around, because I gotta get on to bed. So we're gonna head on out. Okay guys, so it's finished up here, and let's just take a look at what we got. So it says it's finished up. End time, it took 6 hours 25 minutes to do it, and it's now at 4.2 volts, and it put in 23,389 milliamps. So 23,000, let's see, 23,000 divided by 11, that's somewhere around 2,000 milliamp hours, somewhere close to there. So again, it says 4.2 volts, so let's go ahead and check it. Okay, so they are at 4.2 volts, and what we do now, that whole process, okay, was bringing the batteries back to life. So we started, we found out they were dead. This thing said, hey, we can't find it, you have a connection error, something's not right. Right? All smart meters will say something, because it just can't find the battery. It can't see it. It's just like, I mean, what's going on here? So we're gonna take the whole process, though, is when it sees that these batteries are dead, or in our case, absolutely deader than dead, then you have to take them and you have to put them on your own power supply unit and begin to bring the voltage up to at least 2.6 volts or something of that nature. Now, remember that these batteries are, let's see, 2016. They're 4 years old. Now, remember, we had 0.03 volts. So after we have checked everything, after we put it onto the power supply, we did all that kind of stuff. Let's just check an individual battery here. Let's see. Let's see what our voltage is. Yeah, so we're reading 4.2. Now, what we'll do with that, let me set that down real quick. Is we'll actually take on here and we're going to write down right below that date right there. We're just going to write today's date, which is 4/11/21, and our voltage. Now this is important because this is now the second test that we're doing. Let's see here. We have 4.20. So we're going to put the date and then what the voltage is. Okay, so let's see if we can get that there. Okay, that's how we did it. So we got the date on there and what the voltage is. And we're gonna go through each one of these and do the same thing. Write down the voltage. Then we're going to let these sit for 5 to 7 days, up to a week, and then we're going to recheck the voltage and see how much the voltage drops. What is the internal loss of each of these batteries? If there's a major loss, what we need to do is cycle the battery 2 or 3 times to get all the electrolyte, get everything back to normal in that battery because it's been dead for so long. So the first step is always put your batteries into the system, put it on here, see if it can recognize it. If it can recognize it, then you just start with this step and you're checking for temperature. Any hot battery, you're trying to remove that battery because that is a dangerous battery. You don't want to use it in your packs. You don't want to use it in the power wall. You don't want to use it in anything or any project. You want to simply recycle it. If it's not recognized by your charger, in our case the IMAX B6 Mini, then we put it up onto a power supply, and the power supply is what will bring it back to life. Okay, it'll put voltage and amperage back into the battery and make it recognizable by the smart chargers, which turn out to be not so smart, because if they were smart, they would realize that the battery is just simply deader than dead and needs to be recuperated, regenerated, or brought back, reconditioned back to life. But if we have to start out with the power supply, then again, what we're doing is touching the batteries, and we're looking for any hot battery. This is always going to be step 1. Always look for hot batteries. Get rid of them. There's something wrong with them internally, and they can catch fire or they can explode. After we get them recognizable, or to a voltage that is recognizable by a smart charger, we then take it and put it onto the smart charger and completely charge them to maximum voltage. Then, after that's complete, we'll take that and write down what the voltage is and the date, and then we'll wait 5 to 7 days and we'll check the battery and see how much internal loss this battery has. If the battery has a lot of internal loss, then we'll take that battery and we will cycle it 2 to 3 different times. We will discharge it down, recharge it, discharge it down, recharge it. And we'll just use this IMAX B6 Mini here. So what we would do at that point is we would exit out of that, and we would go to discharge. And we would leave it at 2 amps because, we're running 11 batteries. Or 12 batteries if none of your batteries were bad, and 1S. And then we just discharge it all the way down. Now, you won't be discharging 11 batteries. You're only going to discharge the batteries that you got your voltage on, right? And it's lost, in 5 days, instead of being 4.2, say it's 3.9, okay? At that point, if it's 3.9 after 5 days, that battery needs to be cycled a few times, get everything, the chemistry back right in the internal part of the battery. If it's, say, 4.1, 4.18, or even 4.2, then obviously you don't need to charge and discharge that battery. You just need to check the actual, what it's capable of holding. So once you've done that and you've gone through 1 week, 5 to 7 days, and you recheck the voltage and everything's working, then you'll simply take each individual battery and do a capacity check, which means you'll take it and you put it on there. You'll discharge that battery all the way down to nothing. And you can just use this, just remove all these batteries, use the first slot, stick it in there, hook your charger up, discharge it down all the way, and it will tell you exactly how many milliamp hours you have right here in this little spot here on the IMAX B6 Mini. And then what you would do is you would actually write that down, how many milliamp hours it has, and then you would go to the Go back, hit this button until you get back to that screen there, then minus it, and what you're now looking for is this one right here, battery resistance. And then you hook the battery up to it, you know, just like you normally would, and check the resistance of the battery. So once you're completed and you're completely done, you would have something that looks about like this. So you have the date on it, how many milliamp hours the battery did when you did a discharge on it, what the voltage was, and how many ohms resistance the battery has. Now you can match all these batteries up according to whatever your system needs. You know, try to match your voltages up and your milliamp hours up. Like this one held at 4.17. It never charged to 4.2. It only charged to 4.17. But it maintained 4.17 for over 2 weeks. It has 2083 milliamp hours, so we want to match it with other batteries that have between 2000 and 2100 milliamp hours. So my assumption is, based on the amount of batteries that I have done, that, and again, these are just completely dead batteries back in 2016, and they've literally been dead since late 2016, very late 2016. They were December. So 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, that's 4 years, and now we're in 2021. So a little over 4 years old, these batteries are. And they've been dead for 4 years. But from what I've been able to test and tell, you know, I'm averaging anywhere from 17, it's really 1800, 1900 milliamp hours to as many as 2190. I think I said 2400 in the last recording, but I meant 2100 because it's almost 2200. So I'm assuming that these batteries were originally 2200 milliamp hours. Now, again, I can't find the information on them, and it does not say on the battery itself exactly how many milliamp hours it's supposed to be carrying. But my assumption is these were 2200 milliamp hour batteries originally. So really they haven't lost any capacity, and they work just fine in battery packs and any other thing. And when I put them through a disk cycle process, you know, I'm all the way up to 150 cycles already, and there's just no degradation to this battery at all. So, you know, the myth of, you know, once dead, you've destroyed the battery, or you got it below 2.5 volts, you've destroyed that battery, is simply nonsense. I don't know if that's just a marketing scheme to get them to sell more batteries or exactly what it is, but again, you can do this test on your own, and then you can cycle and discharge them and use them in a battery pack and just use them and use them and use them and use them, and you'll see for yourself that really a dead battery is not dead. Again, these batteries have been dead, and I mean dead, 0.03 volts since 2016. 4 years, over 4 years, absolutely dead, and they're just fine. Yes, they'll run a current. Yes, they'll work in a battery pack. They've got 2000 milliamp hours, so 2 amp hours per cell, and absolutely no problems. As long as you bring them back to life and you rejuvenate them properly. First check on here. If it can't read it, then you take it over to the power supply, apply the proper voltage. It'll start out with a steady current, amperage being pushed into the battery until it gets to whatever voltage you set, and then the amperage will begin to drop. Once it becomes recognizable, you hook it up to the battery charger, the smart chargers, and allow them to do their process. And you take them all the way up to 4.2 volts, or whatever the battery is capable of holding. You can see this is still at 4.203 volts. It has not changed. Okay? They are not losing energy. They are not self-discharging. I have found that some of these batteries have discharged just slightly. I mean, so slightly, like instead of 4.2, it'd be 4.19, or instead of 4.203, it'd be 4.200. So they do lose a little bit over time, but for the most part, you're going to be using the battery, recycling the battery. If you're using it for solar, obviously you're going to constantly be applying a charge to the battery to bring it back to its full maximum potential. So hopefully this video has helped you out, and hopefully it's showing you that a dead battery, as far as lithium is concerned, is not dead and is still usable. The main thing that you need to take away from this video is that during the very first step is to locate any hot battery and get rid of it. Put it in the recycling bin. Don't use it. After you've done that, you have eliminated every bad battery, and you got plenty of other batteries to do whatever project you want with your lithium ion batteries. Alright guys, so I'm going to get on off here. I love you guys. Get in the word, stay in the word, get the word in you. Probably the most important thing you could possibly do. And we'll catch you in the next video.